I'm a 34-year-old man who runs a construction business in Phoenix, focusing on upscale backyard transformations, including pools, outdoor kitchens, and fire elements. My parents belittled my career choice for years, but now I earn more than their combined incomes and have deliberately left them out of my will. Few understand the grueling journey to build my company. I started alone with a beat-up truck and credit cards pushed to their limits. I took any job that paid: deck fixes, fence building, concrete repairs. I worked 18-hour days, 7 days a week. My hands were constantly stained with cement dust, and my back felt like it was held together by sheer willpower. I slept in my truck at job sites to cut fuel costs. My bedroom was the cab of a 2008 Ford F-150 with 173,000 miles and a heater that barely functioned. Arizona winter nights aren't as cozy as people think when you're curled up in a metal box. I lost my apartment after a client stiffed me on a $12,000 patio job. He claimed the stonework didn't match the sample, even though the contract clearly stated natural stone varies in color. That taught me a costly lesson about deposits and payment terms. A lawyer wanted $5,000 just to start the case, which I couldn't afford. Then I landed a small pool project for a retired couple. My portfolio was just phone snapshots of decks and patios. They took a chance on me because their grandson played football with me in high school. Connections open doors, but you still have to deliver. They referred me to their neighbor who passed my name to their son. That's networking 101. I hired my first employee, Diego, who's still with me. I found him as a day laborer outside Home Depot. He had more skill than most contractors I'd met. All he needed was a chance and proper documentation. I covered the cost of his certification courses, best investment I ever made. Supply chain issues nearly sank us. Lumber prices skyrocketed overnight. I had to justify to clients why their estimates jumped 40%. We lost half our projects. I started hunting supplies like it was a sport, hitting suppliers at 4:30 a.m. to be first in line, calling in favors from contacts I'd helped. We bartered materials with other contractors to keep jobs alive. One week, I drove 1,200 miles across Arizona, Nevada, and New Mexico to find specific tiles a client demanded. I slept maybe 20 hours that week. The client never knew. To them, it was just delivered on time. A local news anchor hired us for a small project and featured it on air. Our Instagram following tripled in days. We shifted to high-end projects exclusively. I turned down a $50,000 remodel for a $120,000 build that would elevate our brand. It was risky, but playing it safe wouldn't get me out of that truck. The client I passed on was furious, but later offered double my original quote. Now we have 20 employees, 3 crews working at once, and a 3-month wait list. Last quarter, we completed $430,000 in projects with a 22% profit margin, our best ever. By Phoenix contractor standards, that's elite. I don't flaunt Lamborghinis or Rolexes. My efficiency is my flex. Every foreman has a company card with spending caps I track in real time. We switched to Builder Trend, streamlining quotes, change orders, and schedules into one platform, cutting admin time by nearly half. I fired a worker who showed up twice reeking of vape and making excuses. I explained to the crew why. If someone can't arrive on time, sober, and ready, they're not just hurting themselves, they're risking everyone's paycheck. That's not drama, it's policy. Every dollar I've earned came from outworking everyone else. No handouts, no family loans, no help. This matters because my family still treats me like a broke kid, not someone out-earning both parents combined. I met Sophie, an interior designer, on a high-end project. She's brilliant, beautiful, and brutally honest. No games. She texted me about granite samples and asked, "Free for tacos Friday?" She grew up with her grandmother after her parents left at age 8. She balanced design school while caring for her grandma with dementia. She knows real struggle. Early in our relationship, she dropped by job sites with coffee for the whole crew, not just me. That's when I knew she was special. She respected the work, not just the results. Here's the family breakdown. Dad, Frank, manages a grocery chain district, earning about $85,000. Mom, Linda, is an elementary school administrator. My sister, Chelsea, calls herself a marketing consultant, but hasn't had a real client in years. She lives in my parents' basement, pretending to run a business empire via Instagram. Her room is frozen in time. High school awards, boy band posters, now with a ring light and a girl boss sign for her daily motivational videos that get 12 views. Growing up, the dynamic was clear. Chelsea could do no wrong. I could do no right. Her dropping out of college to backpack Europe was bold self-exploration. My summer construction jobs to fund business school were settling for grunt work. Dad would inspect my job sites, pointing out mistakes that were just unfinished tasks. He did it recently at a $300,000 lake house project, telling the homeowner the deck slope looked off. It wasn't. We were still laser leveling the supports. The client hesitated until I showed him the plans and tools. Mom was no better. When I made the dean's list 3 semesters straight in business school, she said, "If only you'd worked this hard in high school." I worked 30 hours a week in college and 15 in high school while playing sports. Chelsea's always been a mess. At Thanksgiving, she announced she was plant-based as Mom served the turkey, dramatically eating only sides and gagging at the meat. A week earlier, I saw her scarf a bacon cheeseburger. When I noted her plant-based, leather boots, she threw cranberry sauce at me. I wiped it off and kept eating while everyone ignored it. At my cousin's wedding, she lectured me on how my business harms the environment due to concrete's carbon emissions. This from someone who takes 40-minute showers and leaves every light on. I asked how she enjoyed her SUV rides to the salon. She didn't speak to me for months, my most peaceful months. Sophie met my family at last year's Christmas. Chelsea showed up with a scrawny guy in a turtleneck, introduced as her business partner. They spent dinner pitching their wellness platform, blending meditation, crypto, and social media, a buzzword smoothie. When I asked about revenue models or user acquisition, she snapped, "Not everything's about profit." I replied, "Hard to change the world from Mom's basement." Dad nearly choked. Later, Chelsea cornered Sophie in the kitchen, warning her my construction phase wouldn't last and she'd need a backup plan. Sophie smiled and said, "I've seen his books. Maybe you should ask him for investment tips instead of listening to Turtleneck Guy." Chelsea stormed off. Sophie just winked at me. I dread family gatherings, but skipping them triggers weeks of guilt-trip texts about how important I've become. So I go, keep my head down, and count the minutes. When I called Dad about Mother's Day plans, he was oddly casual. "Just a small thing this year, Mom wants it low-key." I assumed it was the usual dinner at their house, nothing fancy. Before hanging up, he said, "Don't bother coming. No need for gifts. Focus on your business. The Phoenix trip's a hassle." I felt brief relief, thinking they finally saw my work as legit. But years of family patterns made me suspicious. Over beers with my friend Derek, a plumbing business owner from business school, I shared Dad's call. He was skeptical. "Sounds like a setup. Skip it, and you're the jerk who ditched Mother's Day. Show up and they'll say you're intruding." Sophie, who joined us after a client meeting, agreed. She tracks Chelsea's Instagram for intel, like monitoring a chaotic storm. "Your sister's been posting about a big Mother's Day surprise," she said. Derek's words stuck. I needed a knockout gift. I recalled Mom once mentioning Skyrock, a luxury wellness retreat near Sedona, her dream getaway but too expensive. Dad had brushed it off. "Maybe when we hit the lottery." I checked Skyrock's site. They offered a 3-day, 2-night rejuvenation package, spa treatments, meditation, hikes, meals included. $3,800 for 2. Years ago, that would have wiped me out. Now I could pay without flinching. Business was booming. We just finished a $230,000 backyard for a tech exec, under budget and ahead of schedule. The client referred friends. I booked the package for the weekend after Mother's Day, listed my parents' names, and paid in full, including champagne for their suite. For once, I was excited about a family event. I should have known better. Sophie and I drove 2 hours from Phoenix to Tucson on Mother's Day. I told Diego I'd be offline all day, rare for me since I take client calls daily. As we turned onto my parents' street, I saw cars lining both sides, at least 15, including my aunt's Range Rover and my uncle's absurd Hummer, bought for off-roading, but never used off pavement. I parked 3 houses down, holding the retreat envelope. Sophie, in a sharp blue dress, squeezed my hand, sensing my tension. The front door was open. I followed the noise to the backyard. Through the patio doors, I heard my uncle say, "Thought Logan wasn't coming." Dad replied, "He said he couldn't make it, probably for the best. He'd just drag us down with his contractor talk. At least Chelsea's here with her new pitch." I froze behind the doorframe. Sophie gripped my hand tighter. The backyard was transformed, tables with lavish floral setups, a happy Mother's Day, Linda banner, and caterers prepping a gourmet spread. At least 30 people mingled on a pristine patio I'd offered to redo for free, but they declined for Chelsea's friend's guy. My cousin Jard spotted me first. "Logan's here, man." Heads turned. Dad recovered fast with a dismissive, "Just kidding, son," before turning to chat with my uncle like I wasn't there. Whispers started, comments about arriving empty-handed, driving the same truck, and Chelsea landing a big investment for her app. I heard, "Guess he's not doing as well as he says," and "still got dirt under his nails." The last part was true. I'd helped with masonry the day before when a guy called in sick. Owners get their hands dirty. I approached Mom at the main table. She frowned. "Why didn't you call and you didn't bring anything for your mother? Classy." She gave Sophie a fake smile. "You brought your girlfriend to a family event?" Sophie smiled back. "Fiancé, actually. We got engaged last month." She flashed the diamond I bought after our biggest deal. "Guess our announcement got lost, like our invitation." I reached for the envelope but stopped. This wasn't a last-minute party. I'd been deliberately excluded. Chelsea's business partner, Travis, strutted up in another turtleneck, sweating in 85-degree heat, wearing $400 minimalist sneakers that looked like hospital slippers. He mocked my construction job, suggesting I try tech for real money. This from a guy with no shipped product. I mentioned we'd just done a project for his company's CFO, who passed on their app pitch. "Funny, Brad said your projections were a joke. Small world." Travis's smirk faded. Chelsea's eyes narrowed. I grabbed a chair near Jard, who's always been solid, a firefighter who hates nonsense. Sophie sat with me. Chelsea swooped in. "That's Travis's seat. Grab a folding chair from the garage. Not sure where your +1 sits. We didn't plan for extras." Jard stood. "I'll help." "In the garage," he whispered. "Dad said it was small." Aunt Linda mentioned catering but dodged who was coming. "Now I get it." I grabbed 2 metal chairs, saying, "Guess I didn't make the list." We set up at the patio's edge. Jard pulled his chair next to me, a small gesture that meant a lot. Dad clinked his glass, announcing a celebration for our beautiful Linda and the catered meal. As I moved to join, he said, "Logan, we didn't count you for catering. Grab a drink or something." The yard went quiet. I stared. "You serious?" He doubled down. "Language, Logan. We paid $35 a head and you weren't listed." Mom stood. "We told you not to come. You ignored us. We can't just make food appear." Jard offered to share his plate, but Dad waved him off. He showed up uninvited. He waits until everyone's done. I asked, "Since when do I need an invitation for Mother's Day? I'm a stray dog now." Sophie chimed in. "So you're telling your son he can't eat because you didn't budget for him?" Chelsea snapped. "No one asked you." "You don't belong here," I pointed. "Watch your mouth," Sophie added. "Apparently neither does Logan." She turned to me. "Babe, let's grab lunch elsewhere. This isn't worth it." Something clicked, not anger, but clarity, like solving a complex blueprint. "Just so you know, I did bring something." I handed the envelope to Jard. "Read it, bro." He opened it, eyes widening. "Skyrock Wellness Retreat, Sedona. Premium package for 2. 3 days, 2 nights, Mountain View Suite. All meals, spa, activities included. Guests, Frank and Linda. Paid in full $3,800. Silence. Relatives Googled Skyrock, Aunt Marlene's eyes popping at the photos. Mom's jaw dropped. They backpedaled. "Logan, we didn't know," Mom said. Dad added, "We were joking. Sit, eat." I stayed standing. "That package has everything Mom wanted: massages, meditation, hikes, private terrace dinner, when you had the money." Travis tried. "Linda, the universe works mysteriously." "Shut up, Travis," multiple voices said. I turned to Jard. "It's yours and Emily's now. You haven't had a break since the twins." Mom pleaded, "Logan, we love you." We were surprised. Dad flushed. "You can't do that. Those are ours." I replied, "My reservations, my call." Chelsea muttered, "You're making a scene." I said, "You all set the stage. I'm just walking off." As Sophie and I headed out, my cousin Rachel shouted she was coming. She's Chelsea's younger sister, now a developer in Colorado. "What they did was messed up," she said. "I've watched this nonsense for years." Jard joined, handing back the envelope to keep safe. Uncle Ben, the family outcast who moved to Alaska, leaned against my truck. He'd flown in, hoping things had changed in a decade. "They hadn't. Mind if I join?" he asked. At a sports bar, the 5 of us swapped family horror stories over burgers. Ben runs a thriving fishing charter in Alaska after cutting off the family. Rachel's killing it as a developer. Jard's solid, but has his own family drama. Ben said my parents value image over reality, preferring a prestigious, broke daughter over a successful blue-collar son. Dad wanted to be an architect, but flunked the math, so he manages stores while acting like a CEO. My success stings him. Rachel revealed Chelsea hasn't had a client in over a year, faking business calls in the basement, and door-dashing 3 days a week while claiming to network with execs. She asked Rachel to pose as a British-accented investor on a Zoom call. Rachel refused, so Chelsea blocked her. Sophie shared that Chelsea DM'd her, offering to be our brand ambassador for her strong social media presence, after ranting online about capitalism exploiting creatives. Her last post got 8 likes, including an NFT bot. I laughed. You don't hire the arsonist to fix your truck. Jard mentioned Emily's gallbladder surgery, paid anonymously when they were behind on bills. I shrugged it off, but he pressed. I admitted, you fed me for a week after my ankle injury. Emily watched my dog during a conference. What goes around? Jard shook his head. And today they wouldn't let you eat. We discussed cutting contact. Ben said it was his best decision. First year's hard, then freedom. They'll try guilt, health scares, money please, stay firm. Your real family's at this table. Rachel invited us to her Denver housewarming, promising non-narcissists and mountain biking. I felt peace for the first time that day.
Back in Phoenix, I had 17 missed calls and 32 texts. I ignored them and slept like a rock. Monday, I called my lawyer Emma, who handles my business contracts. I told her to add a no-blood clause to my will and succession plan, barring my parents and Chelsea from any inheritance or business stake. No exceptions. She called it drastic. I said, recent events clarified things. Emma didn't pry, just delivered. My estate would go to loyal employees like Diego, a trade school scholarship fund, and relatives like Jared, Rachel, and Ben. My parents and Chelsea were explicitly excluded, with a clause redirecting any contest attempt to charities they'd hate, like environmental ones for Chelsea's hypocrisy. I transferred the Skyrock reservation to Jared and Emily, then blocked my family's numbers. Business soared. We landed a pool and kitchen project for a news anchor. I promoted Diego to operations director with a 15% raise for keeping things smooth during the chaos. Then my parents and Chelsea showed up unannounced. Laura, our receptionist, buzzed. Frank, Linda, Chelsea here. No appointment. Family matter. I told her to send them in. They looked rough. Mom tired, Dad slouched. Chelsea in plain clothes, not her usual flashy getup. Dad complimented my office, shocked at the awards. I cut to it. What do you want? Mom claimed worry. I called BS. They needed something. Chelsea mentioned family drama. Aunt Karen cut Dad off. Rachel blocked Mom. Ben emailed everyone calling them toxic. I smirked. Your problem, not mine. Dad's apology called their actions a lapse. I said excluding your son from a family meal isn't a lapse. It's deliberate. Finally, Dad admitted they needed $25,000 for Chelsea's app. They'd sunk their savings into it, and the developer wanted more to finish. I guess the first $30,000 went to a fancy logo, Instagram shoots, and gold foil cards, not code. Chelsea's glance confirmed it. I said Travis is scamming you. You bet your retirement on Chelsea's vanity project without due diligence. I could have connected you with devs for a $5,000 prototype. For $25,000, I'd hire 2 coders and a UI designer for a working MVP. Instead, you paid a TikTok influencer who deleted her post. 0 users, 0 product, but great vibes. Mom asked if I wouldn't help. I said I'd have helped loyal people, like Diego, whose son's surgery I covered, but not them. It's not the money. I made more than that last month. It's your pattern. I showed them Jared and Emily's Skyrock photos, meant for them. Dad raged. Years raising you, and you cut us off? I replied, you raised me to stand on my own.
Thank you for watching my story. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe and press the bell icon. Stay tuned for more real-life stories, get more experiences.